Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Maya the King, and welcome back to me, because I'm back. I'm really sorry I haven't been able to put out a video in a while, but as some of you might know, I am a father of two very young kids. One is 5, the other is 3, and during Christmas break, one got 2 weeks off and the other got 4 weeks off, so these last couple of weeks have been super busy as I'm trying to care for them and keep the house from falling apart, which gives me very little time to do any kind of videos like this. Now, before we go any further, and due to several comments of people not paying attention, I need to inform you the difference in my videos and other people's videos, okay? Alright, I do first impression videos, number 1. Now, these are merely me jumping into the game for about 10 to 30 minutes. This means that the video is based on my first impressions, hence the name. In other words, I judge the game based only on those first minutes. It is not a full review, just an impression. Please keep that in mind. Second, my first impression review videos. There's a key difference here. Review is at the end of that. These are combinations of first impressions and reviews. I do not do a deep dive review like your standard type of review, and I don't just spend a few minutes on it either like a first impressions. I play the game roughly between an hour to 2 hours, since that's the time frame of when most people can get a Steam refund if they're not liking the game. I do that because my entire goal of this channel, of these videos, is to help players and myself to try to save a little bit of money and know what they're getting into, or if they want to get out of it. And if you don't agree with my opinions, then fine. You can go buy the game and see for yourself if it's bad or not. Or you can just go watch another video where they, kiss the game's ass. But I pride myself in being brutally honest, and I'm not going to stop giving my opinion just because you happen to be the one person who loves the game. Make sure you actually watch the whole video, by the way, and read the title before you leave me a nasty comment, okay? You know how many people have made comments and they've made criticisms and yet they didn't watch the whole video or they misread the title? I mean, come on, guys, be smarter than that. I've had several people try to defend games like Day of Dragons, Nostos, and Hades. Now, I actually liked Hades, so I don't even know why people were trying to defend it from me when I praised the game in my video. And if you try to defend Day of Dragons or Nostos, you either just don't know any better, or you're one of the people involved with creating those cursed things. Anyone with a brain cell can tell that those games were no good upon release. Now, I've been playing games since I was 8 years old. Back in my day, but that's 20 years ago. Alright, I've been playing games for 20 years. Alright, I'm an old man now. If you've got that much experience, and you've played as many games as I've played in 20 years, then feel free to let me know. And feel free to be mature about your defense of these horrible games. If you're going to try to attack me, or act like a child, then I'm going to treat you like a child. I've got a lot of experience considering I've got 2. Okay, you want to come at me with legitimate criticisms? Fine. In fact, you can scroll through many videos and many comments where people gave me legitimate criticisms about whether I spit, showed too much emotion, got too upset, or whatever, and I have slowly been listening to them, accepting their criticism, and trying to adapt and move on. But attacking me, that's not going to get your point across. It just makes you look like an ass. Now that I got that out of my system, can you do me a favor, please? Can you hit that subscribe button? I'm, really tired from having to defend myself against all these trolls for weeks. And, as a lot of you RPG players out there know, the trolls are no easy opponents, man. They take a while to go down, so do me a favor and hit that subscribe button as a way to reward me for my valiant effort in trying to fend them off. Okay? Alright, thank you. Now then, on to why anyone who decided to stop by is here in the first place. It's to find out what this video is, what it's about. Well, it's a first impressions review on Vesteria Saga 1, War of the Scions. Now, this game did come out, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago, but as I check on it every day, it still doesn't seem to be getting a lot of attention. I'm not really sure why that is, so let's dive in and take a look at it, shall we? Maybe we can find out why. So first off, you might be asking, what the heck is this game? Well, the best I can tell you is that this is a Fire Emblem ripoff for the PC and not for handheld gaming. And if you don't know what Fire Emblem is, where have you been? But basically, Fire Emblem is a strategy role-playing game, basically. You take control of certain characters, there's a lot of dialogue, anime-style art, and the strategy involves moving your characters within a certain movement tile that they are each allowed, and getting next to your opponents and using different weapons or different skill classes to destroy your enemies while following a story. It's pretty simple, to be honest. Not a whole lot of complexity in these games. But, there it is. So this game is developed by Vesteria project, go figure, and published by Dangen Entertainment. Now, when I say that this game is a ripoff, I mean it's kind of a legit ripoff. Like, it was developed by Shozu Kaga, who was the original creator of the Fire Emblem games. But Fire Emblem is still a thing, and doing really well by my last account. So, what even is this? What does this even qualify as? Is he just making another series of games, but not using the Fire Emblem? Like, was he fired? Did he start a new company? Did he quit because he didn't like the direction they were going? And it was his original idea, so we just took it and slapped a new name on it. Like, didn't Hideo Kojima do something like that? Like, he got fired from, what was it, Konami or whatever, and, like, they kept the Metal Gear Solid name, but he's doing his own, whatever. Basically, it looks like it's a similar situation here. So, like, is it technically him stealing the Fire Emblem idea, even though he's the original creator? I don't really know. And I didn't look any further into it because it doesn't really matter, quite frankly. I mean, the only thing that really matters is if this is a good game and if it's worth your money. At least to most of you, that's all you're going to care about. So that's what we're going to be focusing on here. The Steam store page describes the game like this. A prince in flight, charged with defending the last of the royal family, determined to secure a future for his kingdom, unaware he would be fighting for stakes greater still. And yeah, that's pretty much the story. It's just like all the other Fire Emblem games. You are someone in some small, perfect little peaceful kingdom who then gets attacked by another massive evil kingdom which is being driven by some evil power or corruption or whatever. Your kingdom obviously loses as per the norm, and you and your team go into hiding and travel around while searching for answers and a way to reveal and defeat the evil bad guy. Most likely you'll learn of some kind of legendary weapons, have to go on some kind of journey to get them, and discover that either you or one of your close companions is a chosen one, then use that power, and those magic weapons of course, to then find and defeat the evil villain, all while gathering and losing companions along the way. So, if you're looking for anything new in this Fire Emblem-like game, then you're going to be disappointed. It's literally the same freaking thing I've seen a dozen times. But how about the gameplay, right? Is there anything new or innovative there? Sadly to say, there is not. Well, how about the gaming mechanics? Like, is there any new kind of system or added options or anything like that? No, there's nothing new or innovative there either. Okay, but what about the combat, right? The combat was never, like, super innovative in the previous ones. You know, you just tell this person to attack this person and then watch the scene unfold. So, you know, maybe there was some... No, don't even... No. There's no cool or unique new thing here. No. In fact, this game is basically kind of like the poor man's Fire Emblem. It's like the Fire Emblem from 15 years ago. Do you remember the original Fire Emblem? I sure as hell do. It is a favorite of mine and one that I remember to this day. In fact, fun fact, it was the original Fire Emblem for the Game Boy, remember that relic, that made me an RPG fan. It started my dive into becoming a gamer and loving video games. So it holds a very special place in my heart and forever will. But this game isn't even as good as the original one. The story's about the same, so I can't complain about it in the regard of whether the story is good or bad. You know, the story is about as good as the original one. But in this day and age, and with all the other Fire Emblems out there, this isn't a good thing. After all the stories that are out there, this one being just like all the others is incredibly unremarkable, and it only hurts the game. I'm not saying that it's poorly written or conceived, but, I mean... Like I said, in this day and age, you just can't get away with putting out the same thing you've put out a half dozen times already. The only games that works for are action games that don't have any story, like Call of Duty or Battlefield. As for the processing and the combat and the graphics and the mechanics, it's all taken several steps backwards from just the most recent Fire Emblem games, let alone ones that came out forever ago. The combat is poor and boring, the art is very, very old school and not at all impressive, and here's the thing. It's a PC game being sold on Steam, and the game doesn't even give you an option to go to full screen. You have to mess with the files or mess with the input, which some people don't even know how to do. The game stutters a lot. It isn't smooth, no matter how long you play. Watching this video, you should have already seen the combat, and look at this. Look at how jittery and stuttery it is. Unfortunately, I only have bad things to say about this game. But then people might say, okay, so the game is slow, it's glitchy and unoriginal, but surely it'll have a price tag that makes it all worth it. Hell, even I would pay for a cheap version of Fire Emblem because I love the style of those games so much. However, I don't feel like the price tag here is correct at all. I mean, yeah, it's true, they're only asking you for $20 for this terrible version of a Fire Emblem clone. When you look at the other Fire Emblem games which offer you legit innovation, amazing graphics and stability, and great gameplay and story, they charge twice as much as this. So I suppose, in a weird way, it might actually fit, because this game is clearly not as good as those. But even so, for $20 and this level of quality, I don't know. I'll go further into why I don't think it's worth it before I end this. I mean, besides the things I've already stated, like the cliche original story, the horrible stuttering the game does during its combat, and the poor graphics and interface, the game's music is off. I mean, it's repetitive. I mean, the game has the same tracks for the map strategy parts and for the combat scenes. And each time they pop up, which they do several times back and forth, the track just repeats over and over again. And after the first hour, you don't even notice it, but after the first hour, it becomes impossible to ignore, and it makes it impossible for you to retain your sanity. That was one of the main reasons I had to stop playing. It was driving me insane how every time I would have this music playing as I'm looking at my units and positioning them around on the map, I'd get into a fight, track would cut off, new track would start. I'd be fighting, kill the guy in one hit, that track would cut off and go back to the other one, and it would start over from the beginning. And because you're always, moving things around and things are constantly changing, this is just happening all the time really fast. You see how quickly that can get annoying? And along with that, there are several errors in the dialogue. Like, for example, let's say you talk to some guy, right? This is what pops up. My lord, we must hurry to the castle before 03A error. Reload message number 1. And save the princess. I've seen things like that in my first hour, a few times in my first hour of gameplay. Alright, now the error I just displayed and talked about isn't, pinpoint accurate to what I actually saw, but that's the gist of, the kind of things I'm seeing in the dialogue. And to be honest, with how many $20 games I've seen come out in just the past few months, this game just does not hold a candle to those. I think for $10, this game would be worth it. Now, maybe if the game was smoothed out, maybe if the developers ironed out all the negatives I've mentioned, all the bugs and all the glitches with this game, maybe it'd be worth $20, but even so, I'm not so sure. I feel like I'd prefer $15. But with that glitchy, stuttering gameplay, the repetitive and annoying music, and the really old-school graphics, even as a nostalgia game, it doesn't feel like $20 is right. It doesn't feel right, you know what I mean? And that's not even everything wrong with this game. Real quick, the mouse drives the game, but doesn't line up most of the time of what you're clicking on. Even when you finagle a full screen, it's not perfect, and the bottom of the screen is cut off. And after the first battle, the game crashed on me during a cutscene. Now I could keep going. I've got a long list here of terrible things that I saw or that happened in my game. But I don't want to keep going on that. I think I made my point clear enough. But I do want to make another point very clear. I love Fire Emblem. And I love games that are similar to Fire Emblem. I don't know why, I just do. Maybe it's because the original Fire Emblem is what, attached me to video games and set me on this path of loving video games. So that's probably a big part of it. But because I love Fire Emblem's games so much, I really hate to do this to this game and this developer who originally created the Fire Emblem game. It really hurts me to have to say this because I was really hoping this would be good. But this game, it's just not worth it. It would be way better if you go buy Fire Emblem Awakening for $40. That game is freaking amazing and it still holds up even to this day. I'm telling you guys, go play that game instead of this one if you're looking to try a game out like this. Or, go get the original Fire Emblem. There are emulators out there, and you can go and get the fucking original Fire Emblem game. Play that one. The original one that came out 15 years ago is better than this game. And I don't know, maybe the developer just didn't have the funding to make the game he wanted, or maybe he was just thinking it's more focused on story than anything else. But if it was a unique story, if it was a different story, if it was something I hadn't seen before, then yeah, I might have even been able to look past all that stuff, because these games are mostly story-driven. They're mostly character-driven, story-driven, but in Fire Emblem Awakening, you can get married to someone, have kids with that someone, you have a base with someone, you can train with someone, you can retrain someone, you can train yourself. You have the main character who you play as in that game that you can train to be whatever you want, which helps fully immerse you into the game. You can choose dialogue options of your person. There are 3D battles of the game in there. I mean, Fire Emblem Awakening is so way above this game. And by the way, go look at the news. It was Fire Emblem Awakening that saved the series from completely being terminated. That's how good it was. So, I don't know, maybe the developer just didn't have the money and he was hoping that he could just bank everything on a story. But if that's what he was going to do, he really should have made the story something he had never seen or done before in a Fire Emblem games. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe a few months down the line, this game will iron out those bugs and those glitches and some of those other details. Maybe drop the price down to $15. And if they do that, then at that point, yeah, go buy it. Definitely go buy it and check it out. But $20 for this unoriginal, uninnovative, broken, buggy, sloggy game? I'm sorry, but I just can't do that. No matter how much I love Fire Emblem or how much I love games like this, I cannot accept this. So, for those of you who are out there that are truly interested in this and a mega fanboy of Fire Emblem games like me, I can't stop you from buying these games or from hating this video or even me for what I said. But remember this, I don't like to do this. I was really hoping this game would be amazing. I was hoping it would add something new or do something different, but it's not. If you've played the original Fire Emblem games, then you're just getting those but with a reskin. And, as I said earlier, not even as good as the original one. At least the original game had fully fleshed out smooth combat. Here, it gave me a headache watching these combat scenes. I would rather go back and play those older versions than play this one, and I'd rather go out and rebuy Awakening than play this game. So if you've never played a Fire Emblem game before, and you were looking at this and saying, this might be interesting, I'm telling you right now, either get the original Fire Emblem, or get Fire Emblem Awakening. Those ones would be way better for you to try out. I don't have to give this game a rating, since this isn't a deep dive review, but if I had to, I'd give it a 4. It's slightly below average. It's nothing special, it's nothing great, and it's not really something you should waste your time on even if you are a fan of this developer and his old games. Based on its broken, buggy, and sloggy gameplay and lack of innovation or originality, I can't even judge this as an average game. That's why it's a 4, slightly below average. My advice? Just go buy the newer ones. Anyway guys, that's all the time I've got for this video. I know a lot of you out there will probably defend this game, and I don't blame you, honestly. If I was in your shoes, I'd probably get mad at me too for talking so down towards this game. But you guys didn't play it. Or if you did play it, then your love for the genre, or your love for the game, or your love for the developer has blinded you. So, you know what? Please, all I ask is to keep your comments mature and calm. And you know what? If I'm wrong, then let me know. Don't be an ass about it, but let me know. As much as I love games like this, as a long-time gamer and someone with very little money, I personally can't afford to spend $20 on a game like this where all it does is make me miss and wish for a remake of the original games that I grew up on loving. Where it offers nothing new and does nothing different from the Fire Emblem of 15 years ago. So, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys found this video informative, and I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all on my next adventure. Until then, I bid you farewell.